Okay, so it's not quite 5. And I want to talk about like my recording schedule over the next couple days because it's going to be kind of weird. So I'm going to get this one downloaded. And then tomorrow it will be later in the day because there'll be a problem with service in the morning. And then Saturday, I mean, that's Friday. Okay, and then Saturday, probably there won't be one. And then Sunday, it will be late again. And there is, I was just like, it's weird because all these things I was thinking I was going to talk about, all of a sudden I was getting these flashes of the other side of like um, talking about something. So, um, well, let's just see how it goes. We'll see what comes to me. So, anyways, I got my car back yesterday. And so in the morning, I didn't call first thing, but like an hour or so after they opened, I called and asked, if there was any good news on my car. And she said that there was, that he had, I don't know, messed with it and stuff. And then he would leave it and see if the problem came back. And she said that nothing, so everything was fine. And he had to unhook some other stuff, some other water damage stuff. Is the whole inside of my car is like, I don't know, like flood, like cars get wrecked in floods, which Tennessee is about to have a flood. They've got a dam about to break, and it's so wild. Okay, so the okay, okay. So that it has this that fault line thing that I was talking about the other day, and that it is pulling, like energetically pulling these storms. The cicadas are on this path. Like this path is got some frequency, something going on, and the thing is like I've said before, they have looking glass and stuff. Like they don't just have remote viewers. They have this technology is like they can look into this glass or something apparently, and then it is like looking into a crystal ball. It will give them information, but they are it's like all information that comes from the universe, you don't get every single detail. So it is so if they're using this to look into the future, it's so that they can see outcomes and stuff. um but that's how, like, there's like a certain group who know we win, and that goes along with uh the changing of the ages. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes together that gives me the concept of what is going on. And so the this looking glass thing that they use, and that's like guys from the secret space program and stuff talk about. um I don't know, I've just heard about the looking glass for a long time. And when that letter, when I very first started hearing that stuff, that's when I was like, oh, they've got looking glass, like they're looking at this stuff. Because it was I mean, it's crazy how accurate they are on some of the stuff. And then it's weird how some people don't see it. But I just heard a video where somebody who, and there's a whole bunch of these people that think Donald's a psychopath and the other guy's got Alzheimer's. And what are we going to do? Is this all we got? These are our leaders? It's like, oh my God, you guys, it's this way because we are pulling free. And I know some of the people who say that stuff, they are, it's like the rippling of information as it spreads through the collective. And it is, it can be tedious because it's like, come on, you guys. But it is all a part of the awakening. So it's all good. It's all good. So that is, that's how it spreads. But it's just weird when you hear some of these people, like, so sure this guy's a psychopath and all these negative things. It's like, why can't you see it that you're programmed off the media? Like, if you go look up information about this guy that does not come through the media, like his works, the things that he's actually done for people, what people who know him in person think of him and stuff, you get a completely different thing than what the media says. Even if you go back and watch his old interviews and stuff, you see, like, he was concerned for the country a long time ago. He was talking about this stuff. And like, why in the hell, like, it's like these people think like, oh, he's conquered real estate, so now he's coming to take us all over. And it's like, I think him being in real estate got him in a lot of rooms with a lot of really shady people, and he saw a side that he was aware of. But he's not like, there's a whole bunch of us who we've been around really shady people, but we listened to our internal and we didn't go in that direction. And I think he has a strong internal guidance because, again, if you go and listen to his old interviews, you hear what he has to say, and in his perspective and stuff. Sometimes his braid is so heavy. So his perspective, you can hear is about, caring about our country and people and wanting everybody to have things and stuff. And he probably saw a lot of people who were just screw people over all the time, because that is so big in the real estate and development. It's so shady. But that doesn't mean every single person was unethical. There is some people who are. He just, like, when I was believing the media, I thought this guy was completely different than when I started listening to like old interviews and listening to, or looked up articles. Like, he did some nice ass stuff for people. There was a kid who was super sick and nobody would fly him, and the parents couldn't get any flight. There was even a problem like with Life Flight or something, and he needed to get to this place. I don't remember what the whole thing was. It was this life or death situation. And Donald would get up in the morning and he would read in the paper and see what things were happening and where he could help. And that was one of the things he read in the paper, I believe. And so he sent his private jet over there to pick up the family and transport them, and I think a medical team and stuff. And, just out of just being kind because he could. So he did. He could see someone needed it. That's the kind of people we need more of, not less of. And it's like, so when I hear people just saying all of these negative things about him, it's like, man, once you see some of the good works, it's like shit that like you wouldn't do. Like, would you even get up in the morning and go drive somebody across town if you didn't want to? Like, there's lots of things. Would you give somebody your car and say, hey, I know you got appointments, go take my car? A lot of us won't do those kinds of things. We won't put ourselves out. Well, I can't let him drive my car. What if he wrecks it? So, and even if he had his own pilots and stuff, I mean, he has his own stuff. It's his gas and stuff. He's got to pay the people to go do this work. So it's not like it's nothing. So anyways, and then the other one that comes to my mind is when he got a flat tire in his limo on the side of I don't know how. I don't think it was like a big long limo, but it was definitely a limo, I'm pretty sure, because he had a driver. But some of those people who, really rich people, don't drive around in big show cars. Why do they want to draw attention, of criminals or whatever? So some of the cars I don't think are just, some cars I think just look like a car, maybe a fancy car or something. Um, but there's just like a front seat and a back seat. I don't know what his car thing was, and but it had a flat, and so these people pulled over to help, and whatever it was that they helped him, and he got back on the road, and then he found out who they were, and or I think he asked them who they were or whatever, because that's another thing about him, is you hear like every person that works for him, he knows their name, he knows their story. It doesn't matter what position someone holds, he treats them all the same. He'll sit and talk to a janitor or whatever, people who are this other personality that they try and say he is. They wouldn't give somebody the time of day like that, like a J-Lo. Like, she's not going to talk to somebody who's below her, as our common hierarchy exists. But he doesn't look at that hierarchy like that. He doesn't look like, well, I'm rich and you're poor and you don't have any right to talk to me. He treats everybody with respect. And it's like, that's what we want more of. And but the people who helped with the car, limo, flat tire situation, he paid off their house. He sent the thing, paid off their house, and they received like the deed in the mail or something. So he doesn't just like, oh, here's $5,000. Thanks for helping me or something. I mean, he does big things that he thinks are going to really help people. And I think that's kind, that's empathy. That's a compassionate person. And you think of somebody who has a lot of money, that they become like a J-Lo. That's why we're seeing these two angles of this representation. It is like the two templates. It's like the two pathways. The path to not liking themselves and the path to loving themselves and wanting to spread the love. The path to not loving themselves, and everything is a disruption to them. Everything is a problem to them. And they look down on people, and people are in their way and causing them problems. I'm just trying to think, because there was something that kept coming into my mind about something about that. But I do want to talk about this one thing. Let me think if there was something else. Oh yeah, I saw this video of this girl. This is just like, when you think like when I've said everything that can happen is going to happen. Like the most craziest shit is just going to keep happening and happening. This girl is like a young girl, but I was a young girl, and we've all made stupid ass mistakes. And so this girl had her own apartment or rental. I don't know if it's a house, a condo, whatever it is. And so she's a landlord. And she was paying her payment through Venmo. And she'd been paying for 13 months. And just now found out she had been Venmoing the wrong person. It was either 13 months or 18 months. I think it was 13 months. But she'd been Venmoing a different person. Wasn't even the right person. Man, when I go in, like I bought some jewelry from somebody and had to anytime I have to Venmo a stranger, like I send $1 or something and make sure they get it first before you send the whole amount, because Venmo it's fucked up. Like, and I think the same with Cash App. Like, you send it to the wrong people, it's like, well, that's your problem. You should have done more research. It's not our problem. They're just the transfer hand. And that is a part of our technology that only hurts us. It's like, oh, this can be, but that's where this quantum system is going to be so much better. It's not going to be these kinds of things. These loopholes and stuff are meant to be there to fuck us up, because, I mean, just see how much bullshit, like the fraud, it always ends up, it's like the bank just lets fraud happen. Oh, well, they have these ways of, getting into your account and stuff. Well, okay. But the quantum system that we're going to go on to is going to be very different. It's not going to have these errors. But this girl, so when she figured it out, so she started messaging the person and asked for the money back. These people never said anything. Here they are getting this, like, I don't know, $1,500 or $1,300 or something every month in their, someone's just sending it to them, and they don't even say anything either. Like, that is like no morals, no integrity. And then, so they spent it and then blamed it on their drug addict sister. So they took this lady's money and won't give it back to her. Now the landlord is on to the whole situation and wants all the money right now. And it is $18,500. She asked the people for it back. They said, well, there's nothing we can do. It's spent. We can't give it back to you. So then the landlord has said she has to give it right now. She has a week to move out, and the landlord's suing her now. It's like, oh my God, when it rains, it pours. And I don't know what all stuff, that she has to go through to learn and stuff, but it's what it all has to do with. Everything that she's going through has to do with, like, putting things back in balance, or your own, your lessons. It all has to do with deeper stuff than what people think it has to do with. And that's why some of the stuff you just kind of look at it like, well, it's kind of tedious. This is how I have to go through this. But you're going to learn and grow if you stay on this positive timeline. Otherwise, you just become the victim and poor me, and everybody sucks. Life sucks. The world sucks. Everything sucks. And then when it's the other way, it's just like, oh, here comes another lesson. What am I supposed to learn here? And approach it like that. And I think it's like, be introspective, be reflective, and try and go deeper and try and understand for yourself what's happening. It's not like the universe is going to force it on you. It's more like when you are over there begging, like, show me what I need to see. Then, you'll get signs and stuff. And sometimes you'll get total clarity. It all depends. And it depends on how the lessons are linked. Sometimes you got to learn this and this and this, and then you'll understand and stuff. So it's just like an approach, but it's one that, you can get easily frustrated, that you have to, it's learning how to maneuver through the, like, the conversation with the universe. Like, sometimes, you can feel like they're ignoring you and they're not talking. And it's through a time when you need to figure something out. And it's like, because you need to figure it out. It's like, we're not going to sit here and tell you a goddamn thing. Go figure something out. Because they can't tell you everything. The things have to unfold for you. And so sometimes you can feel like, like where God's turned his back on me. He's not there for me. But it's like your guidance and stuff. It's I don't know. It's like these epiphanies for us. That's our growth. These realizations and stuff. That's what promotes our growth and expansion. And so it's like, okay, so like what I see is like when you have a little kid and you're teaching them how to walk, sometimes you got to let go and let them walk by themselves. You can't just, handicap them. And for the rest of their lives, you're walking around holding them up like, oh my God, you might fall. That is more handicapping. If the universe treated us that way, they have to let go of you and let you take steps. They can't just sit there and hold your hand the whole time, even though they're always there and always in love. And your guides are not far from you, just like your anybody who's passed on and stuff is not far from you. It's the illusion is this room. Like, this room doesn't really exist though. And so they're all, like, if you went into another vibration, we're all just like energy around each other. And so that's where the illusion is the 3D, and that is where you get caught up in the illusion. And so you lose track of what you have going on, because the illusion is so, it's like the same thing like if somebody puts on a virtual reality glasses and then they forget they're in a virtual world, and they think that they're in the real world. That's like what's happened to people, that being in this world has distracted them enough or confused them enough that they've forgotten that this world is separate from their real world. And so that is what the awakening is about. And that is what's also trippy is there's a video going around of Don saying some stuff like, and he has before. I've caught these before in some of his speeches and stuff. Like something big is coming, and after this thing happens, everything's going to go good. But he has said before, the ending's not for everybody. Like there's going to be a lot of people who are going to go, but it's going to bring us all together. And nobody knows who's going. That's the thing. It's part of the show. There's nothing to fear. Even like there's a lot of people who are getting really freaked out in that zone, that zone, what is that called? They're calling it something. But that area where now they're saying this is this fault line, it's going to go like through St. Louis. It's going to be like a 10.0. Somebody, oh yeah, the guy who had said about Dawn getting that whole situation, he had said it before that it had happened. And so then he was doing videos like, told you guys this is exactly what was going to happen. Now he's saying there's about to be a 10 in that thing, which something is going to happen. Like, because the Mississippi, like that becomes a waterway. It kind of divides the East Coast from the West Coast. That's why our country becomes a lot more different shape. And that is what I'm saying is like they have this information from Looking Glass, but that isn't even confirmation. All the scientists and stuff don't even know that, because there was that one NASA scientist who was like crying on the sidewalk trying to tell people like what's coming, and they're not telling you and stuff. Like that same thing like from that character from that movie, you know, that they're not telling us what's coming. And then there's this big comet or something, a meteor or something that went over New York. There's people saying that there's like things are not the right, what was she explaining? Because should have been something that was going up and down, and she said it was going this way. And I can't remember what it was, but a lot of people are having these weird skies and stuff. But now over there in that fault line, it's full. They're saying they're doing a test or a pretend earthquake to prepare. And but it's on that fault line thing. And I kept thinking before that a lot of water was going to come. Like, I don't think any of us saw like, oh, there's going to be the fucking earthquake over there. But then you just got to think of like all these plates and stuff. And when you think of all these different plates, think of different realities, you know, micro, macro, everything is representative of everything else. So the all these plates shifting. And so I had thought that it was going to be all this water that was going to make the Mississippi bigger. But if it's going to be this fault line that is going to crack open, God, that is so scary though. God. Oh my God. Hopefully, because where was that? In like Topanga or someplace over in Southern California, that there is a place that is shifting, and they're not talking about a lot, but it is dropping like a foot. I don't know if it's a foot a week or something. It's having these big shifts. It's happening in Africa too. There's other places. I'm sure they're not telling us all these places. The guy in Wyoming, he's seeing it happen there. And in California, like some of the people are having to start to move now. Their houses are dropping off the streets and stuff. So this whole community is seeing these shifts. It's like, fuck, as soon as the house starts dropping, I'd be, but then, you know, what are you going to do? Because you can't sell your house. So it's kind of like, but that, you know, to me is like, well, you got to get a camper or something. You just got to cut your losses. Because it's just, you know, you know, I don't know. Because all these shifts keep happening. And, you know, I don't know what's showing over there, but hopefully it will do that. It will have some big earthquakes that are just really rumbly and scary, to where people start leaving. That is what I keep thinking is what that's kind of they've got going right now, is this like this soft evacuation thing, like these push to get people to go in other directions. That's what all these different cities and states and stuff with these absurd laws and shit they're putting into place. I think that's also, you know, to wake people up and to push you in other areas. You're like, fuck this city. I'm not staying here with these bullshit rules. No job is worth this shit. And so that is, you know, where everybody's going to start moving out of places. So hopefully that by the time it really has the big, huge thing that opens up and fills up with water, you know, like the Grand Canyon or something, that it is, most of the people are gone. So, because there is people, you know, who are seeing these things, and it was weird in that one neighborhood in California where it was so dramatic. Like, it's very dramatic if you see that footage. Like, it's weird. And like, there's a house way down here, and he said that house used to be street level, and it's like, look, I thought you were on street level. Street level's up there. It fell all this way. And so, he said this person now is selling their house. They don't really have any choice. They can't really get to their house. They were having to like climb and go down on ropes and stuff or something. And but now they, you know, they don't really have much choice. They can't get to their house, and so they're going to have to sell. And the people across the street from them are selling. And I'm thinking, what for who's going to buy their house, for one thing? It's going to have to be a loss. You'd have to. I don't see why it wouldn't be an insurance loss to be able to say, you know, something. But that's the thing too, is insurance is stopping to cover everything. It's a part of what is going on. But that's a part of why insurance, and we're going to end all these kind of bullshit things, because they're all bullshit. And so, but see, it's not as fast. It's going kind of slow. Like if, for instance, like if they do start having like really big earthquakes in LA, which is coming, it's definitely coming. Like the whole West Coast is gonna be going down, and I'm over here, so. But it is hopefully once the big earthquakes start, that it's going to be. It's not going to be just like one giant earthquake and everything opens up, California falls off and stuff like that. There's going to be a bunch of big earthquakes that go towards that, and all these different scenarios keep pushing us, and they're going to have something where we will start being directed towards safer places to go. I just feel so sure about that. And and it's going to be frustrating, you know, because of things like this, the loss of, you know, I'm not getting any money, but that's where you got to trust the universe is going to give you stuff back. And there's going to be, everything is going to become free for us. Like there's going to be things where we have to buy things, but it's like in this one part, like where, like supposedly for older people, they're going to be on an amount of money every month. Like Social Security is going to change to like $5,000 or $7,000 a month or something like that. So all these people, everybody has plenty of money to have whatever they need. So every month. And then there's going to be certain age brackets, you know, where they're not going to just want them to get lazy and not work, because we need to have businesses build So we need people, and people will have it in their imprint. It's inside them. They're going to feel super motivated to start certain things in their communities. And so that is where, well, the pay is going to be a whole bunch of pay. And like our pay is going to go way up. But there's also going to be like if you want to start business opportunities then the money will be there for your business opportunity. Whereas before, you'd come up with an idea like, oh, I'd really like to start a business and do this and that. And you go to the bank and the banks will be like, sorry, we can't invest in that. That's been, a lot of people's situation. A lot of people have great ideas and just there's nothing there to ever fund it. And it's just like always feel like your hands tied because we were enslaved by this. But that's what's ending. So when you have these ideas, you'll be able to go towards this. I don't know how it's going to be set up. Like I've heard before, banks are going to become like financial institutions where like money planning or something and to help us, but we're going to be our own bankers, as the quantum system is just your system. It's like your fingerprint, it's your connection. And I mean, this stuff is going to be so wild. Some of us it's going to be so far beyond our imagination. So it's hard to say for sure how it all works. But what I heard, we're going to have like our own password number, but it's beyond that because this quantum thing is like us connecting to the universe. And so we're going to be taught how. And that is why we have to awaken so that we can, start using these kind of abilities and stuff, apparently. And so I'm going to say it because I've seen a bunch of stuff. So when the money thing goes, okay, so with young families, I've heard that they're also going to be kind of subsidized. So there's going to be younger family like that kind of age range where they're going to have some money that they're going to get every month. And then, and who knows like how accurate all this stuff is. Like, but it's like things to be like, well, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. Everything that we're losing, everything that we're going through right now is because we need to heal these old wounds of what comes up. How does it make us feel to lose this and not have that? Because those are the things we're trying to heal. And so, those things are going to come up. But so the families, but there's also going to be all this money towards like I've said, I think they're going to be giving away land. So, or you think like, well, I want to have enough money to buy a house. But that's the thing is, I think there's going to be a cost, from what I understand, for new things. So, say you want to go and get land, like they're going to give away tons of land. But there's going to be an expectation, I feel, but we're all going to meet that expectation. It's not going to be like, people who won't, it's going to become too uncomfortable for them. So say they get land and they just want to take advantage of things and not take care of it, that would become too uncomfortable. Like we're going to get into a harmonious state with the earth, like us and the earth. Like you would be more answering to the earth than to us. So we're going to feel that presence in our lives. And so, which yesterday there was a huge dark shadow up in the sky. And they did come in and start spraying or something. There was a whole bunch of clouds. It was really, really weird out there yesterday. So weird. And today is supposed to be like so hot. I mean, I'm going to be in triple digits. It's going to be like way over 100 in a minute and be driving. So I'm going to try and leave real early. That's why I was like, when I woke up at 2:30, I was like, whoa, I want to go back to sleep. But then I wasn't being able to go back to sleep. So I was like, I should get up and get ready and drive while it's kind of cooler. Because it's, man. But my car all checked out. So, and yesterday when I went and drove it, it was driving good. So, um, anyways, so with the business kind of thing, um, there will be a lot of land given, and it will be in certain areas. So see, it will be by the people. Like certain people will be like, well, I don't want to go there. I don't want to live there. Well, I don't want to live in one of his cities. Well, I don't want to live in a Freedom City. That sounds like a scam to me. I'm not going. So there'll be some of that. But then there's going to be other people who are going to be going and going and going. And then it's also going to have this moral dilemma because the people who were so scared of like the 15 minutes, and they were so scared of that control that they are going to think that this other one is control, but this other one is just, I believe, getting us to move into places that on like the Looking Glass and stuff seem to be safe places in what's going to happen. So that's the places I think they're going to try and get us to go to. And then it will be like for younger people, I think there's going to be a lot of motivation to get them to learn and expand themselves, not go to school and be educated in the indoctrination camps, but to expand themselves, learn to follow your heart. And it is like that childlike part of us was robbed early on. And so now it's like, instead of robbing that from us, instead it's like to stoke that inside of people, to get people excited about who they are and what they're here to experience and what they can learn and stuff. So there's going to be a lot more promoting growth for kids and learning yourself, self-identity, figuring yourself out. And then people who have kids, there's going to be more about building community and becoming a part of something and coming together with other people in like-minded, families and stuff. There'll be some communities that will have a lot of families, a lot. And then there'll be other ones that won't be so much. It'll be like single living or community, or people who live single, and then that community may have 200 dog parks because everybody loves to spend time with their dogs and socialize at dog parks or something. Like, that's what I mean. There's gonna be like all different kinds of things, and it's gonna be like the group of people that bring this energy that create a reality that is like, what do we want? What do we want? How do we want to spend our money? Because there's going to be all this money being there to be dumped into communities. That's how they're going to be giving back to humanity, is this building, this rebuilding our world, this restructuring. And that's why you got to get in touch with yourself so you know what you're here to do and what you're here to bring. But, I really, like all of this too, think of it in this way, because what are we getting so much information about? Like before, information was always hidden from us, and now there's being information. But then you see like what happens to people, like whatever they always said, we can't tell them. They get scared when what's happening. People get scared. And it's like, well, you guys created this. You told them that there is nothing but this God out there judging them. So all you do is create division. So they created this on purpose. But hold on, so I got stuck at like, where the fuck was I talking about? What was I talking about? Can you guys tell me? Let me think, what was I talking about? So when you think about like them disclosing without just coming on the news and broadcasting it and freaking everybody out on this slow roll, this is why I've said it, everything goes so tediously slow, is to unfold it slowly so it doesn't create more chaos, because we're headed to more chaos. Like, we're in chaos, but there's going to be more chaos because everybody's world is going to flip upside down from whatever's coming. And that is what Trump was saying, something's coming, and he made it seem like something in the sky too. But if it's something in the sky, like it's going to create, like it's going to just be our whole world shaking up. And that's where, you don't want to be scared. That's where you just got to be like, sit back and wonder, watching the magic. Like, this is fucking real. Like, this is what I am here for. It's like, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to be scared. You don't want to be running and crying like there will be some people if that's what goes down. And I think he was saying something like, there's going to be a huge flash or something. But to me, I kept thinking that the solar flash would not be the awakening thing. So I don't know, because right now we got Joe who's sick. And so all these people are saying, well, let's see how long it's before he steps down or they take him out or whatever is going to go down. But we know, like, he's got to go, wow, it's not even the real guy. Like, something's got to give on that situation. I can't believe it's gone this long. So that, whatever is going to go, hopefully, yeah, one thing ends and another's about to begin. And that is a part. But I know that we had this solar flash or sky thing and this, our land mass changing and stuff. That's all ahead. That's all coming to us. Like, there's no getting away from that. But there's no reason to be in fear of it. Like, it's much more of a, you're here for it, so don't be scared of it. And but anyways, they got people so mind twisted. But anyway, so to me, where they're doing this, pulling all these cops and firemen, they've got military, all this stuff going to this fault line. So for this big drill or something, and it's supposed to last 3 days, this drill over this weekend. Like, it's starting now, it's gonna go and have this drill on, which to me, it's like, well, I would feel pretty sure, like, if there's not gonna be a real earthquake, or why would they all go there? You think they'd all be heading out. But that is like, get your attention, especially because, at this point, with all of us conspiracy theorists, we sound like a bunch of crazy people. The sky is falling, people. And so, and we all look like crazy fools, paranoid, neurotic. And so to all the people who look at us like that, then all of a sudden they see all these cops and firemen and all this pulling up. And then they start thinking, well, what the hell is going on? Like, why are they doing that? Like, I've never seen anything like this before. And it's, to get their attention. And, but I don't think that something would happen while they're there, because they know what's to come. I don't think they'd rush to the accident. They're going to run the other way. And so so I think this is just a part of the getting people to wake up and take things more seriously. And it is getting people to talk way more about this fault line. And it probably, there's lots of more people like me. They're like, go look at the doomsday map. Like, that's what's going to dramatically change our lives. And that's what we got to be, focusing on, not just fucking, who's going to be, like, you got all these people, like, only focusing on that. It's like, okay, wagadoo. It's like, I know you really need a babysitter, but it's like time to, feel yourself, like, and get in touch with your environment, your reality of where you exist, and it's falling apart. It's, it's destabilizing to, it's like, it's destabilizing to fall apart, but then we are going to fix it. It's like, that's the whole thing, is everything falls apart, but we fix it. We create it, we rebuild it, we change it. So what was bad becomes good. And we learn from all of this stuff that we go through, so that we do create something that is good. And we do become more connected to ourselves and the universe and the planet and the animals and all of that stuff. And all of us, not just like a few of us, everybody who remains. The people who are not here for that, they will leave. And everybody who's here for it, that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen in mass. mass amounts of people. And that's gonna just become like, just think of the energy. It's gonna become more and more blissful. The more people become connected, and the more people realize, where they are, and we all love each other and stuff. It's so it's gonna get way better. I mean, right now it's so dark, but that is all this dark energy that has been inside of people for a long time that is being purged out. It's really dark, uh, yucky energy. So, so we're all seeing it. A lot of people don't see it in themselves. And they will see it when the lights come on, when this thing happens. That is your opportunity to see yourself. And but to me, that especially Dawn, he's always like dropping these little hints. Like, he knows that there's something big coming, and that is why we have to come together. We have to become more like, not just scared little ants running from everything. We have to become the warriors that we are, empower ourselves, and be willing to, it's more important to stand in your integrity than to just, stand there dripping in jewels and, sucking somebody off for it or something. You know what I mean? It's way more of standing your own truth than just bend over and for somebody else. And that's what this whole group it hasn't clicked in with them yet. It's like they've got you hooked on this, just vote, and you guys are all on board, and it's like, it's a game. When are you gonna fucking notice? Well, they want us to pick from this guy. It's because the universe wants you to stop fucking doing it, to start thinking in a different way, to start thinking more independently, to pull free from this force that is over us, telling telling us the rules. It's their fucking rules. They're not telling us the rules. They're telling us a bunch of fucking lies. They tell us that we can die and shit. And it's like, it's absurd. So so I think that some of that stuff is to get people to pay attention, because then people start going like, well, fuck, I'm gonna be living here when the fucking opens up. So there probably will be some shaking and stuff moving, and the media could be hiding it. Like, there could be some people's houses that are already having problems, and they're calling the news, and the news is gonna hide it. But that would be to show us that part of the corruption, or show that group that it affects, and anybody who's paying attention. So everything is to show all these different things to all these different people. And then if you're paying attention, you just see a lot of different things. And when you're seeing a lot of different things, you can get overwhelmed, or you can get frustrated, because you think, like where these people get stuck of like, all these NPCs, and they won't wake up, and they're so stupid, and they're this and they're that. It's like, well, that's from your frustration. Like, what? Maybe you want to tell the universe what your plan was, like what you think that they should have done, how it should go, because this is we're on the ride. Like, this is playing out how it's gonna play out. We've just got to be able to just deal with what is coming. And when something triggers you, it's because you're supposed to heal it. You're not supposed to get mad at everybody, but that's the part of what people have to heal. And this one thing, because I was gonna talk more about this, but I'm just gonna say a little, because I feel like everybody deals with this kind of stuff, and so I think it's important to say it, not because this is the thing, when you talk about some of these relationships and stuff, it sounds like, oh, poor me, and oh, whiny and stuff. And that's not the angle I'm coming at. I'm trying to express something to show a way that you can look at it in other ways, so you don't get caught up. But the same experiences happen to us all. Like, I have the same shit happen as everybody else happens. It's just of how I maneuver through it. And so that is what I want to share. But I have to share the incident, or it would make no sense how I maneuver through it. But a lot of times when I'm sharing an incident, then I feel like it sounds like I'm trying to throw somebody under the bus or something. And I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but in order to speak my perspective, which that's my high motivation to do, is, I've got to talk about something. But to me, I like to think of it more as an observer, of being able to just look at it for what it is. And so, you know, uh, today is my day of that anniversary day that I don't want to acknowledge. I just think that they created it as a part of our aging system. And like I've said before, I'm more like 60 billion years old than whatever they want to get. To me, this making us age ourselves on these cycles makes no sense. It has no it has no validity to who you are or to your actual thing. Because for one thing, just think about, like, you could take a whole room full of 40-year-olds, a whole room full of 50-year-olds, a whole room full of 60-year-olds. I mean, even at this point, you could a whole room full of 30-year-olds, even some 20-year-olds. I mean, I've seen some 20-year-olds, and it's like, dang, man, look, you're 40. But and that is probably everything has to do with lifestyle choices, and there is a sense of genetics, but there is lifestyle choices, and then the depletion of the minerals, and then how much are poisoned. And so it can be obviously environmental. So all these few, I just think that that is a sign of how bad things are in our health. And so you get a whole group of people of a certain age together, and you'll see it's variable. Like, nobody is the same. It's not like there's this thing and, oh, we're all at this point and we all are the same. No, it's variable. I was telling this to somebody the other day, because as, like, you just think about these different people. Like, there's people who are my age out there on walkers and stuff. And there's people my age that are very, very much aged themselves. And that has more to do with, it has more to do with their self, wait a second, I heard a bunch of words, but it's not the right, their self-illusion, like their self-vision, how they see themselves. And so, and there's this whole part of, like, hating themselves, and so they age themselves, but they don't get up every day. Like, well, some people do get up every day, like, God, you stupid ass, like, and talk so mean to themselves. But it's not dealing with things too. It ages you. And so, like, you have family dynamics and you don't deal with them, then that will age you, because that stuff is there for you to release it. But when you don't release it, it ages you. And so that is what I keep trying to say. It's important for you to deal with these triggers and stuff. And so you have a group of people, and as where I would say, if you went and talked to them, like, if you took people who were younger versions of the same age group and the older versions, I think you would find it has to do with attitude. It has to do with people. This group of people would be much more facing their trauma or facing things, and have a better attitude, just like, laugh it off, have a good time. Like, what are you here for? Life's too short. And the other people would be more of, like, bitter and angry, and nobody's listening, and I never get there, and what am I trying, I'd be a lot more like. So that is where you can change your attitude, and that will change you. But you have to change your attitude. And the reason you hold on to this angry attitude is because you've got anger issues that you haven't dealt with, because you have pain and suffering and trauma that you have tried to put aside, but you can't put it aside. You can't hide from this stuff. That's why I keep trying to say you can't hide from yourself. People fear God. You fucking fear this judgment. because yourself is the one that you can't get away from. And if there was a God up there who was just judging you, you could just shut it down, shut up, I'm not listening. But when it's you, your own self judging you, it's like, God damn. So that is the dark night too. That's what we're about to go into. That's why we've got to have people who have got to be more healed and awakened and stuff when they go in to face this dark side of themselves, because it's going to be so motherfucking intense, because this is the part that people don't want to see about themselves. And there has been this really slow roll into it, this slow open. So, and I really see that as being beneficial to people when this goes down. But where people, I think they're so awake and stuff, it's like, dude, let's talk in a few months. Let's see how you're feeling then. Like, then we're going to really see some changes. So, but in my scenario, so and my thing, like a little recap on my thing, in case you weren't there for it the other times I've talked about it. So I was born to a teenager. My mom was 16. My dad was 20. He was trouble. And he was, I don't know, he got kicked out of the army, and he was hanging out at the high school with his cool car with all the other cool cats hanging out in front of the car, out in front of the high school. So the girls come out and be like, ooh, and then, so the older guys to the younger girls. And I don't think it was so much like, pervy back then, like a 20-year-old and a 6. It was more of, I don't know. I mean, it was definitely, you think a 20-year-old would be out looking for a 20-year-old, but I don't know. It was just like a part of the world back then. And it was in all the movies. I'm telling you, if you watch all the movies, it was just like you see these guys that look like they're like 70, or these girls that look like they're like 20. It's like, what in the fuck? And so anyways, but that's 4 years difference. And that was like an accepted parameter in my world. Even mine even got worse, because I was 16. I was going out with 26-year-olds. I don't know. My mom maybe said, well, I don't even know if she noticed, honestly. Is that was the thing, is my dad was an alcoholic, and they got together by her being pregnant. So it was like they went out on a date, and then he was older. And so anyways, then she ends up with me. And then my grandma, who was a nurse, she gave her an abortion pill, but that didn't work, because here I am. But that's what that, like, I think it kind of haunted my mom or something, because like I've said before, that one time when I was in this major crisis, and I go to my mom and I'm crying, and how was her response was, and this is how I found out about the abortion pill too, was, I think it was like 25 or 26 or something like that. And she said, that's what's wrong with you. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, I'm in a crisis right now. He's filed to take the kids from me again. I've got no money. What am I going to do? That's what's wrong with you. It's that abortion pill. I was like, what? Like, this is a bad day. I'm having a bad day here. I had a lot of bad days. But, so, anyways, whatever with my mom, like, I don't know. I mean, none of us know somebody else's life, what they've experienced and what motivates them to become who they are. But she liked babies, and so she had a bunch of babies back to back, but she didn't really like kids. Like, so she wasn't a fan of kids, and I was the first one, and I was an oddball from the get. So and another problem too is that I looked like my dad. That was one thing, like I've said before, she was dark skinned and dark hair, and my dad was light skinned, blue eyes, and white hair. And then he had a red beard. And she had dark hair and dark skinned and dark eyes. Not brown eyes, more like a hazily kind of color. And so all her kids, we all came out with light skin and blonde hair. And then she was always trying to keep us out of the sun. Like, I can go out and get super suntan. And my youngest brother, that was him too. He had really white hair, and he had colored eyes like her. And then he had really, really dark skin. And so, but I don't know. From what I caught on it, that kind of irritated her. She didn't have kids that looked like her. And so she had kids that looked like him, and I don't think she liked him. And so, well, I don't think she liked me too much. Well, I know she didn't like me, but I don't think she really liked kids. And the weird thing is like a parent can love you, like, well, you're my child, I love you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they really like you, even though that they can see things about you they like. Like if you went and talked to her, she'd be like, oh, she's so wonderful and stuff like that. But there is, especially back when I was a child, like she definitely did not like me. And that was a thing, like for a long, long time. And it was hard on me. I was really trying to get her to like me at a certain point. I wanted my mom to like me. For a lot of time, I just didn't like her. I just didn't like her at all. And she was mean, like, because she would slap you, uh, and she just didn't really have much to do with us. And so I always just looked at it as like, she just wasn't a good mom. Like, but I looked at it also as like, well, she had a lot of problems, like, and she definitely did not like herself. She did not like her life, and I'm sure she blamed it on all us kids. If we would have just been better or minded or something, her life wouldn't be so hard, and her husband would have not been drunk every day and violent and cheater and all that stuff. So, I mean, her life was sucky. But then she split up with my dad when that other guy came along. And so that was when I was 16, and she got together with him. And he was way, way younger, and he had kids. And this is where there was like a lot through my life where I was always judging my mom. Always judging my mom. I always was looking at the stuff she would do, and I'd be like, what in the hell? Why does she do that? And I would always be thinking, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to act like that. I'm never going to be that way. And so then, and I lived with her when, she didn't like kids. And then she wanted to get his kids. And so, like, so she got she got all his kids taken from that mom and came to live with my mom. So she raised those kids. Well, then she decided to get pregnant. And so she had another child when she was in her mid-30s or something. And so that child is 1 year older than my child, my oldest child. So she had that child, and it came out with dark hair. It's strange too, because it came out with dark hair, blue eyes, and light skin, and really big eyes. Like my mom has eyes like me, really small, like squinty eyes, and which is very strange too, because, and she just said this the other day too, is that because my sister, this is just kind of a strange thing, because my aunt sent my mom these pictures of my sister off of Facebook. Then my mom sends me these pictures, and I'm like, well, this must be that filter of what would I look like in the 70s that she did, because that's a filter. That's not really what she looks like. And I said, I'd be curious. So, like, what does she look like now? Like, is her hair long? And so, I haven't seen my sister in a long time. And so anyways, my mom was saying something about, well, I thought these were pictures of you. And I was like, no, I thought maybe it was pictures of you from the 70s for a minute. And she's like, No, that's a filter anyways, but it's just weird. So we were talking about that and stuff. And so but she made a reference to, it's weird how you guys didn't look like me at all when you were kids, but now you guys look so much like me, because we do. My mom and my sister and I all look so much alike now. It's weird. And so she had said that, and I've heard this a bunch of times, but I still don't see this youngest child as looking just like my mom, like at all, especially like these giant blue eyes. And so, anyways, but this child became my mom's favorite child. I don't know if she was making it up to herself for how much she didn't like any of her other kids, but something happened and it triggered her where she chose a favorite, and it was obvious to us all. And it was wild too, because I was old enough to be able to see what I was creating, and it was creating animosity towards the youngest sister, of like, you know, you're always in favor, you know. And there was some situations that happened over some different times when people had come to visit and stayed with me, and my mom, so siblings, and my mom couldn't take time for them because she was too busy with the youngest sister. Like, they've traveled, uh, they've traveled 1,000 miles to come see you, but okay. And that's really hurt some people's feelings and stuff. But this was stuff, like I could see for so long. So anyways, um, and it was always this obvious thing that she had favor and on this one person, and it caused problems in her marriage, and that marriage ended up failing. And then when you're in that situation, you can always look away from what you're doing and blame the other person, but you need to look at what you're doing and see, like, you can't pick one person in your life and make them your whole thing and think that, like, you narrow your life down, it's going to become narrowed down. And so anyways, so this birthday thing, right? And I don't give a shit about it, but I think to her, like, it's like, oh, it'll be so fun, you'll be here on your birthday. And it's like, well, I don't care about that. And but people don't understand when you say that. They think that you're just like getting old and you just don't want to celebrate them anymore. It's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. It's very different than that. It's like, this is a ceremony that they created for us. It's one of those things that deprogramming yourself and letting go of these concepts and stuff. Like, well, I've got to be celebrated. It's my yearly anniversary. It's like, well, I'm not going to celebrate my yearly anniversary right down to the... It's like, I'm not going to break up my time like that. It has no relevance. So, but, you can't tell that to people. So anyways, for my little weekend thing, I had I was going to go float the river with my daughter tomorrow. That's when I'll be in town and I'll be able to download. And then there's no service out where I'm at to download. And so Saturday, there won't be one. Sunday, I'll be home, so I will do it when I get home. And, yeah, if I have something to say, I can, but it won't get downloaded on Saturday. It won't until Sunday. So, I, for my mom's birthday, which is her 80th, and it was like, I wasn't even thinking about it, but then my brother started making this big thing for her and stuff, and I started thinking, oh, maybe I should go over and hang out with her. Like, that would probably make her feel really good. And so I decided, that I'll go over there. And then when the car did get fixed and everything, so everything worked out. So and then my one stepsister lives over here by me. And so I was telling my daughter, we'll see, like, maybe we'll just like do a little barbecue or something for her birthday, and we'll all get together and be kind of like a surprise. And that would be fun. And so then my grandkids aren't around because they all have their own lives now. And then plus, if you don't put effort into Like, you can't. So so then my sister said she was going to come, my stepsister. And so, which I'm totally looking forward to. That's how I'm going to hear more about her friend too with the ketamine thing, is I'll ask her more about that. And see if I can get more details, because I know other people are saying that they know stuff about it too. But anyways, I'll just see what I can find out more. But so she had asked me, because her birthday's Saturday, so it's my, in the birthday world, mine is today, my sister-in-law says tomorrow, my stepsister says the next day, my grandma's was then too, but she's passed, and then my mom. So we have this 4-day thing where it's all of our days. And so when we were all in town, it'd be like, well, let's all go out to lunch together. So anyways, now, so my stepsister texted my mom and said, what are you going to do for your birthday? And she said, oh, well, Kelly's coming. And so, you know, whatever, we'll hang out, do something or whatever. And so then my stepsister was like, oh, okay. And so she was planning to come to surprise her. Like, my mom doesn't know she's coming. And then, so then the next morning, my mom just texts her out of the blue and says, oh, guess what? My youngest sister, the favorite child, she made plans. And so I'm going to spend my birthday with them. So I'm going to get up early, go to church, and then we're going to spend the day together. They've got big plans for it. So it's very exciting. And my stepsister's thinking like, so Kelly drove all the way there and you're just leaving and going off with them? And so she was telling me this, and I was like, because my mom still hasn't said anything to me. I have no idea. As far as I know, Sunday we are hanging out. Like, but to me now, I look at it as like, oh, well, I really did want to drive home Sunday. I really wanted to go, not drive in Monday traffic. So it really works out better for me. But it brings up all that rejection, all those issues, all those things. Like, there was a point where I was like, this is so stupid. Why am I even going? Like, oh my God. I just am like, oh, like, I've seen this happen before. I remember when so-and-so came and she was like, oh, I've got things to do with this people. Like, we're all like, don't you see them every day? It's like, you haven't seen this person in a couple years, but okay. Well, I did say hi to him. I saw him for a minute. Whew, okay. So that's the kind of thing, And then, so when it was hitting into me, then it starts bringing up all that stuff where you're just like, but those are the things that need to be brought up. Like, I can't change her, and I'm not going to let her affect me. Like, you want to pick your favorite, Like, I'm over that part. But it brings all that stuff back up. Like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Like, drive all this ways. And then she's like, well, but maybe you should just tell her you're just not going to come. And I'm like, no, I've got plans with my other daughter, or one of my daughters, and I don't want to disappoint her. So, I'm sure she's looking forward to getting to hang out and spend time with me. So I won't be like petty and be like, fuck that, I'm not going to go. But, that's the kind of stuff that will come up in your mind. Like, everybody's got to maneuver through these things themselves. But as what I'm saying is that there is like these long awaited scenarios, these relationship hiccup problems that we have from our childhood, and then they are being brought back up to us. And how do you maneuver through it? Like, do you get mad? Do you get resentful? Like, I mean, I will be honest. Like, if I'm not going to start a fight over it, though. But, I'm just like, well, it's kind of strange that I drive over here. Like, but I probably won't even say that. Like, she can see it in her life review, how I felt about it. Like, it just is like, I don't know. It just it's weird because you think like it's like well, because I didn't even get invited to the other thing. And, maybe I'm going to get there today and she's going to go, oh, we're invited over to her house for this Sunday thing. And then I'll look like the asshole and be like, well, I thought I would just go ahead and leave rather than go over there. So then it would be me being the one who is pushing. But now I've already got it in my mind. And I don't know why, why my mom is messaging somebody who she thinks isn't coming, telling them about her Sunday plans, and she's not messaging me who is coming and not saying anything to me. So I don't know. But it could very well be that once I get there, she's going to say, but still, this process of this trigger, bringing this up and bringing this stuff back to the surface so that I have to go back through it. And it's always linked all these ways back to your childhood when you were young and remembering the rejection and you're still trying to get your mother's love and we're all trying to I think we're all trying to get our mother's acceptance. And one thing is that our mothers have got their own things going on. They've got their own issues, and they're not here just to fix our issues. They're on their own road, and I don't know what all her stuff is to learn. And and it's not it's not it's not like to be successful she has to fix my stuff. My stuff is brought up for me, and you got to remember that these things are linked to past lives. It's not just like that she's making me feel this way. It is that this feeling is inside of me from multiple different lifetimes, and that she is here to help push it up to the surface so I can release it. So she's really doing me a favor by bringing this stuff up in me so that I can release it. So it's important to have that acknowledgement when somebody really triggers you, to see like, oh, well, I can get real mad at them and think, what an asshole. But then also I could think like on a spiritual level, they're really there for me. They're really there to help me learn and grow and heal through this game. So that is where it is beneficial to see the multiple levels that we have got playing here and not get so caught up in the drama that is created. But when something gets brought up like that, to just really feel it. Like I just was feeling my emotions. I was like replaying things. I was processing through, thinking about like, who do I want to be? Do I want to be, well, I'm mad and I'm being ignored and poor me, I'm just not going, fuck that. And, because you can do that. But then is that who you want to be? Is that like the person you want to be? Or are you letting someone else's behavior trigger you to not be who you want to be? And so I have a defined idea of who I want to be. And, and I want to go with the flow. Like, you want to go spend time with them, like, go spend time with them. Maybe they don't give her as much time as they used to, and she's so excited to finally get a little bit of time with them. As maybe as time's gotten, she has whittled it down to, they're her primary source. That, and if that primary source starts being busy, and then you are left with like and then they also have that common thing with the church. And my mom and I, which I was like, I'm glad that my sister's going to be there too, my stepsister, is because of she doesn't really talk about the rapture and stuff with her so much. She'll like say things, but it's not the same. It's like I don't know, my mom's trying to convince me or what. Like if I agree, then we can have peace on earth. It's like, I'm not agreeing. I'm not. And to me, it is this hating yourself, being mad at yourself, like, well, to know in your heart, like, I'm not a good mom. And because I think a lot of people know that, like in their heart, they know they're impatient, they know they're angry, they know they're bitter, they know that they, are very, whatever that is, scolding or something. Quick Hand McGraw, like whatever that they know. And that is where they go to Jesus to be like, well, I don't have to be perfect. Jesus accepts me. But that is a scapegoat. That's a cop out. Like, let's live in a world where Jesus isn't accepting us and we have to heal our wounds so that we don't continue these behaviors. We don't just act a certain way and be like, well, Jesus has got me. Jesus accepts me. Well, I don't know about you, but Jesus has got me. It's like, that's not what we want. We don't want a world of people doing bad behavior, not taking responsibility for themselves, just, handing it over to Jesus. Like that is a part of society, of humanity. You can see where it has to be healed, where that's why we're going to end this savior coming to get you. And that's why we've got all this drama with Donald and stuff, is because all these people look at him like a savior. There's people who are apparently going around with ear thing taped on them now. There probably is people who think that the flag is representative of him. He's got his own goddamn flag. The flag is representative of freedom. It's like, I don't know. In this world of wackiness where everybody's just looking at things all whacked out, you just got to fucking go with the flow and stay calm and stay on top of what it is, your triggers, what it is that comes to you. Go through the process. When something happens, walk yourself through it, and find where you fall, where you are. And then the universe will bring you more lessons. They'll bring you more triggers. They'll continue to help you bring stuff up until you can release it. That's what this is all happening for. And so, that's a benefit, like that was going in that, that whole thing. Because there's a lot of stuff where you think like, well, I'm over that. I don't care. But then when something happens like that, it's like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? And like I said, that tables could turn real quick. I could get there and be like, oh, well, you're invited to this thing. But I don't know. Because they know I'm not going to go to church. Like, no way. And it's going to start with that whole thing. And then they have all their church friends and stuff. So, and it really does work out better for me. If I don't get all caught up in all, poor me. My mom doesn't love me as much as she loves my little sister and all that stuff. It's like, whatever bond they have, that's it's all soul stuff, and it's not, and how I orbit through those different things, that is for my benefit, my growth, if I use it for that. Because I can go on that timeline that is like the negative one, that's poor me, they suck, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But there has to be a point where you jump off that timeline and go towards that, like, whatever, that's their issue, that's their problem. And I can see, the aftermath of some decisions and stuff. And it doesn't always, there's consequences sometimes to your choices. And so, but, when somebody has, sometimes people are so comfortable with, in a very narrow, like having a very small circle. And some people are very comfortable with that, even if you have a really big family. Like, it's like, well, you guys all drive me crazy. I'm just going to stick over here with these ones. I'm like, I really like these ones. The rest of you, I don't know. It's like, okay. But that's where you got to be like, it has to do with a vibration. It has to do with, what they're in tune, what they're here to learn about and stuff. So it's not, we don't have to look at it as like rejection and poor me. When we feel rejected, that is for the opportunity to release those things, to release the feelings that come up, walk yourself through it. And keep remembering, through all this stuff is like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be bitter? Do I want to be angry? Do I want to be impatient? Do I want to be, the person who walks through the room and everybody holds their breath like, oh my God, what's she going to do now? And completely unstable and crazy and stuff. Like, as you got to learn how to monitor yourself. And I saw another person again the other day with well, I'm borderline. And, they say that they're all going to, they're all commit suicide by the time they're 40. And I don't want that to be my future. It's like, dude, people have got to see you got fucking control over your future. And a diagnosis is not a death sentence. It's like people have got to quit thinking they're trapped by their diagnoses. You've got to break it down. Like, okay, I'm borderline. I've got issues. I've got rejection issues. That's where you start working through it. Okay, uh, uh, I get triggered into feeling I'm being rejected. So, what do I do with it? Do I go into, oh, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to get somebody to love me and pay attention to me, however desperately I need to, or whatever? Or do I go like, oh, okay, so I'm going to walk myself through this, and I can't stop people from being who they are. I can only have control over who I am. And so they can have bad behavior, but that doesn't mean I have to have bad behavior. And it's who's the one deciding what behavior is good and bad. It's more of how it affects us. And then when I look at it, it's like, well, it's your birthday. You want to go have fun on your birthday, do what you want to do. And and I know it means a lot to her on the numbers and stuff like that. And so to her, it's my 80th birthday. And, I don't know. I just feel like it's just important to not get caught up in the dramas and the moments and stuff, and to be able to push back and to be able to stand back and look and see, like, okay, so what if I'm being rejected? So what if I'm being overlooked? It's like it doesn't it doesn't have to affect us like we let it affect us. We can use it to help us grow. That's what I'm saying. Is that, like, you don't have to get caught up, because I know so many people feel so rejected. They hate their parents. And then it ripples out too. Like, I have a daughter who doesn't talk to me. Like, we all have people who don't want anything to do with us, and like, these are all big things happening. They're different soul relationships, and who knows, like, I mean, maybe I murdered my mom in the past one, and so maybe that's why she doesn't like me. Like, I don't know. It's not something, all I got to do is focus on what it is I'm here to learn, what is promoting my growth, the things that hit me the hardest, and figuring out how to maneuver through it without getting caught up in it and letting it swallow you whole, if you get my drift. So that's a lot of little word analogy, huh? Metaphors or whatever. It's always trippy. So it always trips me out sometimes, the things, how they fit together and stuff. So anyways, I am going to get busy on this. But I will be downloading tomorrow at some point. And it probably, like, it would be more in the afternoon. But anyways, just remember, through all this stuff, because there's a lot of shit going on, and don't get caught up in the drama. Don't get caught up in the fear. This is about you being able to have all this drama and fear going on around you, and you think about, like, that is a part of these gurus who, they can sit back and there can be chaos around them, but they can stay centered. That's what we're working on. Like, there's chaos around you. How do you find your center? How do you find your peace? Because that's what you're here to work on, is finding your center, your peace. And along the way, you got to learn how to love yourself, love everyone, and have a loving day, because it is up to you. And so I'll talk to you later. Bye.